After my girlfriend's brain surgery, she spiraled into delusions, broke up with me via a 5-page letter, and demanded I move out total disbelief. I apologize for the lengthy message. There are numerous details I wish to express. My ex-partner, 28 years old, female, and I, 31 years old, male, had been in a relationship for over 4 years and cohabitated for 3. Throughout much of our time together, she was enrolled in graduate school, and we had recently relocated to a new city following her graduation. In June of last year, she received a diagnosis of a low-grade 2 brain tumor located at the back of her head. She underwent surgery to remove it in August, which was expected to have a minimal impact on her vision and balance. The anticipated recovery time was between 6 and 8 weeks with few expected complications. In the immediate aftermath of the procedure, everything seemed to be progressing well. However, 2 weeks into her recovery, she started to sleep less and became increasingly irritable. I assumed the role of her primary caregiver since we had just moved to a new city and were distant from friends and family. Unfortunately, she began to treat me with noticeable disdain and became extremely short-tempered. I felt frustrated as I attempted to meet her needs, taking our dogs for walks, adjusting the lights to her liking, preparing her meals, and so forth, only to face criticism for not being quick enough or for being in her way. I attributed her behavior to the side effects of medication and the recovery process. Approximately 3 weeks into her recovery, an incident occurred when she became upset with me after I responded in a monotone manner during a mundane exchange concerning turning off the bathroom fans due to the noise. In response, she locked herself in the bathroom and eventually emerged with a 5-page letter ending our relationship, offering no specific reasons for her decision. The letter was primarily filled with sentiments of love and care, but declared that things were not working and that we needed to part ways. She insisted that I vacate our apartment, promising to purchase all of my furniture since I had furnished it upon our initial move-in. Despite being in recovery and clearly requiring support, she insisted she could manage this financial burden. Prior to this event, she had not slept for 3 consecutive nights. She spent those nights scrolling through social media, making online purchases, and engaging obsessively in similar activities. She created a new Instagram account, claiming that God had instructed her to connect with people as an influencer to provide assistance. She disregarded my pleas for her to try to get some sleep, insisting that it was beneficial for her recovery to keep her brain active by using her phone at night. Working as a physician assistant, she felt overly confident in her ability to care for herself, convinced that nothing was amiss. I was taken aback by the breakup and was unsure how to react or why it was occurring. I told her she was unwell and needed to rest, emphasizing that she was not thinking clearly. Being in recovery from brain surgery, she could not afford to be alone at this critical time. She was making highly self-destructive choices, believing she was in complete control. None of her reasoning seemed rational, and she would not engage in discussion about it. Her behavior became emotionally abusive and toxic, leading to consistent irrationality and instability. Despite her inability to afford the 2-bedroom apartment on her own, she insisted that I leave and take over the lease. She had little savings and faced substantial student loans and medical expenses. In just a few days, she spent thousands of dollars on unnecessary items online, with large packages arriving at our doorstep multiple times each day. This situation alarmed me, as she was jeopardizing both our financial stability and her own. She grew angry with her employer for unfounded reasons and informed coworkers that she would not be returning to work, despite needing the income and insurance for her medical treatment. Additionally, she expressed frustration with her healthcare providers for not prescribing the medications she believed she required, displaying confidence that she was more knowledgeable about medicine than they were. She completely cut off communication with friends and family, refusing to discuss her condition in detail with anyone. Given her parents' divorce and her already minimal contact with them, the lack of familial support only worsened her situation. She broke up with me while simultaneously acting as if nothing had changed, oscillating between yelling at me for not being supportive and demanding that I respect her wishes to leave. She began posting erratic rants on her new Instagram account, generating hundreds of reels in a single night. Despite her evident delusions, She insisted that everything was fine and declined serious medical intervention or assessments, merely stating that she needed time to heal. During her routine medical follow-ups, she assured the doctors that nothing was wrong, claiming she was just having a tough time. I would discreetly leave after appointments to speak privately with the providers about her condition, or I would take her phone to communicate with them in another room. The medical professionals insisted that there should be no issues, as they had not operated on areas of the brain that would influence her personality. A psychologist suggested it was merely a psychological trauma response and advised that we wait to see if her situation improved. I felt lost, unsure of how to secure her the help she desperately needed, and it seemed like I had no choice but to ride it out. Days later, she informed me that she had changed her mind about the breakup but continued to treat me abusively and demanded that I find a new apartment. She claimed we just needed space, providing no further explanation. I tried to reason with her about the reality of our financial situation, asking her why I needed to leave if we were not breaking up. I pleaded with her not to resign from her job, but she reassured me that she would be fine, echoing her sentiment that I shouldn't worry about her. She had not even been medically cleared to drive or lift heavy objects. The situation made no sense, and she would refuse to discuss her reasoning, shutting me down and yelling if I dared to ask. I had been staying up each night trying to encourage her to sleep, only to be met with intense hostility if I suggested going to bed or pointed out her unstable condition. In doing so, I neglected my own sleep, nutrition, and career, spending my days trying to contact doctors, friends, and family while attempting to calm her emotional turmoil. I was exhausted, malnourished, and deeply concerned for her well-being. Witnessing her dismantle everything we had built was terrifying. It became evident that she was experiencing a full-blown manic and psychotic episode, excessively spending money she did not have, decorating our walls obsessively, and claiming to communicate with me through patterns and coded messages. Hearing her talk in this manner was frightening, as just weeks earlier, she had seemed completely healthy. She would mistreat me unless I complied with her delusions, and even though she had already ended our relationship, I was in a state of emotional distress while grappling with her erratic behavior. She forced me to support her in her manic episodes, otherwise I would face severe punishment. Whenever I voiced my concerns about her mental state, she would accuse me of being manipulative. Eventually, my limit was reached. I became weary of enduring her abusive treatment while trying to care for my clearly psychologically distressed girlfriend. As I attempted to get some rest, she would wake me up, demanding that I leave and find another apartment, only to later say I could stay, before reverting to demanding my departure later in the day. It felt impossible to please her, regardless of my efforts. Ultimately, I informed her of my decision to leave. This filled me with sorrow, as I did not wish to abandon her in this state, but she left me with no option. She disregarded my emotional appeals and refused to acknowledge my concerns about her mental health. I cried and pleaded with her, but she simply laughed it off. Consequently, I signed a lease for a new apartment, still in shock. I knew she was not well, but I needed to distance myself for my own sanity. Despite my deep concern for her, remaining in her presence had become unbearable. I spent a week retrieving my belongings, leaving her with most of the furniture, recognizing she was in no condition to procure replacements. I played along with her delusions until I finished moving out, fearing she might lock me out or lash out again. I kept telling myself that the relationship was over, yet in the recesses of my mind, I hoped she might regain her composure in the weeks to come and that we could address what had transpired, no matter how severe her actions. After I moved out, she behaved as if we were still together, suggesting that we could spend weekends at each other's apartments. I was in disbelief. She had broken up with me without explanation, insisted I leave our shared home after 3 years, treated me poorly throughout this process, and now acted as if nothing had happened. We had previously been discussing marriage and purchasing a house, so this incident felt anything but trivial. It had effectively marked the end of our relationship. Unsure of how to respond, I knew I needed to escape the cycle of abuse and gaslighting. I dedicated weeks to furnishing my new apartment, having to repurchase every item I had previously left for her. After the move, I faced a struggle between wanting to check in on her and seeking to emotionally recover from what had occurred. She continued to act unpredictably, alternating between sending me memes and inviting me to watch television with her, to blocking me and insisting that we needed to move on. A mutual friend informed me that she had begun dating someone she met on Tinder just 2 weeks after I moved out and was exhibiting even more erratic behavior. She subsequently blocked me on all platforms except email, refused to return the rest of my belongings, and even sent me an email demanding money, despite my having left all my furniture behind and covering most expenses throughout our relationship due to her being a student while I had stable employment. I felt deeply offended. How could she initiate a breakup, expel me from our apartment, begin seeing someone new, and then expect me to pay her money? I owed her nothing and had already sacrificed so much, only to be discarded amid her mental health struggles. After this point, I decided to cut off all communication, overwhelmed with feelings of anger, confusion, and hurt regarding the entire situation. During this time, I focused on meeting my basic needs and reconstructing the life I had abandoned. It took until about November, 2 months after moving out, for the grief and reality of what had transpired to hit me. I sank into a profound depression, initiated therapy, and frequently reached out to friends and coworkers, experiencing anxiety attacks. The environment in my new apartment felt unbearable, as I was alone in a city where we had moved together, and I lacked any social support, having spent all my time with her. I struggled to comprehend why the breakup had occurred, what I could have done differently, or whether she was managing her situation. I fluctuated between feeling resentment and sympathy for her, longing for what we once had. While I had experienced breakups before, this one felt especially unique due to the medical circumstances involved. Throughout this period, the only updates I received came from checking in with a mutual friend, who reported worsening news about my ex. She had begun hallucinating hallucinations in her bathroom, connecting with a witch coven, and embraced bizarre esoteric beliefs, resorting to drug use as well. It was alarming to hear this. I kept thinking, I dodged a bullet. I'm relieved I got out when I did. To cope, I began to envision the woman I once knew as dead, replaced by a psychotic version of her. By distancing myself further, it became easier to vilify her and believe she no longer existed. Just before New Year's, roughly 4 months after our breakup, she unblocked me and reached out, claiming to have regained some lucidity and an awareness of what had transpired. She shared that she had lost her job, which she had threatened many times to quit, had squandered countless funds on travel and purchases during her manic episodes, could not afford her rent, lacked healthcare insurance for follow-up treatment, and had alienated herself from her closest friends, leaving her with minimal support. Essentially, it seemed everything I had attempted to prevent had come to pass. For the first time, she recognized that she needed help. Hearing her speak with clarity reminiscent of the person she had been pre-surgery was heart-wrenching. A wave of pity washed over me. I had thought I was making progress in moving on, yet hearing her voice again and accepting the responsibilities of her actions pulled me back. Though I longed to assist her, I had spent the previous 4 months focused on my own emotional recovery. I communicated that she had caused this situation herself, hurting me in the process and destroying our relationship. All she countered was that she had been unwell and that I should not have left, maintaining that I bore some blame for the situation despite her being the catalyst for my departure. During our last conversation, she mentioned plans to move back in with her mother across the country, where we originally hailed from. Now it is February, and while I have reached a degree of acceptance regarding what happened, I am still left feeling alone, lost, and bewildered by the entire experience. I grapple with a mixture of sorrow, guilt, anger, loneliness, depression, and heartbreak. I do not understand why our relationship had to end this way. I am uncertain whether she will recover fully or if more episodes lie ahead. Despite her mistreatment of me, I find myself convincing myself that her actions were not entirely her fault. She was a genuinely good person before everything unfolded, and reconciling her behavior remains a challenge. I do not anticipate that we will reunite, but during my darkest moments, I still fantasize about a return to normalcy, reminiscent of our life before her surgery. Yet I understand that this is unrealistic. She has found herself in a severe financial predicament, will require ongoing medical care, and may not return to her prior self. She continues to hold onto certain delusional beliefs, and seems to evade accountability for her actions. She still perceives some blame resting with me, despite my exhaustive efforts to help. Currently, I am striving to create a new life in the city where we once lived together. However, the bleakness of winter has intensified my feelings of isolation, leaving me cold, adrift, and struggling to move forward. In the absence of a social network, the challenges I face feel even more daunting. I find myself wishing for a regular breakup, simply to have clarity and closure regarding what occurred. I am unable to despise or blame her, even though I wish I could. The absence of a straightforward narrative concerning our breakup only leads me to contemplate whether circumstances could have shifted. Everything erupted amidst a profound episode of mental illness. Could I have endured longer? Could I have resisted the abuse? Would it have made a difference? I remain unsure if she desires reconciliation. Even if she did, I question whether I would be interested. I endeavor not to reach out despite the impulse to do so. I remind myself that I am grateful we were not married or raising children, as that would have complicated matters dramatically. Yet I continue to grapple with the trauma of the situation. Neither of us deserved this. I feel that her psychosis has irreversibly altered her mindset, leading her to believe that ending our relationship was necessary. I strive to forget and move on, but the need to share my experience remains. I am the sole witness to the reality of the events. I remain uncertain of what narrative she offers her family and friends, but this is my account. I seek any encouragement or support from anyone who has faced a similar mental health crisis. It feels deeply unjust that things unfolded in this manner. Story 2. She told me her ex stayed over for days, sharing a bed. She insists nothing happened. My heart is torn between love and doubt. I am a 26-year-old male living in Canada, and I was recently on a call with my girlfriend, a 22-year-old female residing in Germany. During our conversation, I inquired about her time spent with a friend who had come to visit her. It was only then that she revealed the visitor was actually her ex-boyfriend, who attends college in a different city. She mentioned that they simply spent time together and smoked a significant amount of marijuana. Previously, she had informed me about this ex and how they remained close friends, stating that their relationship had become platonic toward the end, as they both recognized they were better off as friends. When I asked if they had shared a bed, she confirmed they did, but explained that she had 2 blankets, they did not cuddle, and she had told him she would be visiting me next month. My main concern stems from the fact that she cheated on her ex with me, and I am uncertain about how many other people may be involved, as she has not disclosed this to her ex. She only shared with me that she had been unfaithful to her ex during my visit 2 months ago. I met her nearly a year ago, in March, while backpacking, and she indicated that her relationship with her ex was nearing its conclusion at that time. Although she believes her ex is aware of her involvement with others, it has never been explicitly discussed. She expressed that she does not wish to hurt him or lose him, as she now views him as a brother. I have urged her to inform him about her past actions, as he deserves to know, and she has assured me she will do so the next time she sees him. I am not opposed to my girlfriend maintaining friendships with her exes. I was once friends with my ex as well, even though we ultimately ended up together. However, I could never share a bed with an ex while being in a relationship, as it feels like a betrayal. It is evident to me that spending extended time together with an ex, consuming alcohol and cannabis, and sharing a bed can lead to more intimate situations. Perhaps my view is biased since I have always ended up romantically involved with my exes, but as a man, I understand how they often think. My girlfriend is quite attractive, and her ex is handsome. She posted about him on her Instagram story during his visit. Although she may perceive their relationship as platonic, I believe a man's intentions with an attractive woman, especially if she is an ex, are typically sexual. As I articulate my feelings, I can't shake the sense that I am overreacting, yet I genuinely love this girl, and she claims to love me in return. She rationalizes her actions by saying that she recognizes her past behavior toward her ex was wrong and that she does not want to repeat those mistakes with me. She fully acknowledges my discomfort about the situation and admits she would likely feel uneasy if our roles were reversed. She has apologized and assured me that she will not sleep in the same bed as her ex again. I want to trust her, but given the context, that trust is difficult to establish. Moreover, our communication has diminished over the past few weeks. She was busy with college exams and illness, which I understand, but even afterward, her texts have been sparse. We began talking more only after her ex's visit. She indicated that she often overthinks before reaching out to me. Prior to our phone conversation, I felt anxious about the situation. Upon seeing her post about her friend on her Instagram story, I felt insecure but reassured myself that it likely wasn't her ex. Sadly, it was. There are numerous red flags present, and I am left questioning whether I am overanalyzing the situation. How can I trust her? I have always struggled with overthinking, and my mind tends to jump to negative conclusions. The reality is she did sleep in a bed with her ex, knowing it would understandably make me uncomfortable. Additionally, she has been emotionally distant lately, failed to mention her friend was her ex, has cheated on him with me and potentially others, is currently withholding the truth from him about her infidelity, and disclosed her cheating only recently after having known each other for a year. We have only been exclusively dating for 2 months since my last visit, and her relationship with her ex is much longer and deeper. She wants me to move to Germany when my visa in Canada expires in September, at which point I would return to Ireland. We have made various tentative plans to travel the world together. She once felt like a dream girl to me. Lately, that dream seems to be fading. I apologize for the length of this message, but she will be visiting me next month, and I desperately seek advice on how I can navigate this uncomfortable situation and move forward. Thank you. In summary, I am a 26-year-old male with a long-distance girlfriend, aged 22, who recently had her ex stay with her for a few days, and they shared a bed. She claims nothing inappropriate occurred between them and that they are merely platonic friends, but I am having trouble accepting this. We have only been in an exclusive relationship for 5 months, but I genuinely love her, and I need guidance.